guys, so this is leadership, the third section. It's called Leadership Demands. And this lesson is going to be very unique and different because it's a prep for what's coming the rest of this section. So this is actually just going to be a word study. I'm going to talk about different Greek words, and then I have some illustrations that'll make them easier for your mind to trigger which one is which. Because as we go through the verses for this section, it's going to be very heavy to using in English very same or similar words, but in the Greek they're very different. So if we're to fully understand what is expected from us, we need to understand the original language in which it was written and what it was meant to say. We're going to start with words that relate to endurance and perseverance. Okay, so the first one is hupomone. Steadfast in trials, patient, waiting with God's power, that remain under challenges or persecutions of life. Steadfast, the greatest of loyalty, especially under the greatest of challenges. Sustaining to the end, the word comes with a promise and a blessing. So I have this illustration, and it has an elephant on top of a guy because it's heavy pressure, okay? But the power to sustain, or that eternal loop, and to remain steadfast under the trial of the heavy pressure of the elephant, God gives that power to Christians to keep sustaining. And then this sustaining happens all the way to the end. I put a sun rise because that is like the end point to get to heaven, okay? So the next one is meno, which is to tarry behind and to be constantly available to the one you are in fellowship with, especially to help the one in fellowship via, or how it's happening is the Holy Spirit. So I put a parking symbol because you're staying behind. And then there's two hands that are shaking because it's in fellowship with whoever you're left behind with, or whoever you're serving. And then the Holy Spirit is the angel with the halo. So meno is to stay behind and serve. That's the summary of it, okay? 2 times ago it was hupomone, okay? This one is hupomeno. So hupomeno means to stay behind and wait while remaining under the load with patient endurance while under trial or pressure. The ability is given by the power of God. So it's the mix between hupomone and meno, which is the parking and staying behind to serve. Now, those combined, I made it more simplistic. So we've got parking, helping someone together, eternally staying steadfast, and then the Holy Spirit is the one who energizes that. Then we have an echo. Live out the faith God has in us and tolerating through the needed sequences to get to an end. So I have a guy, and he is marching forward to the light or heaven, okay, the end, and he's going to go through certain sequences, right? Whatever God has for you, your personal path, you have to get through certain things in order to get to the end. So living out your faith to the end, that's the short version of an echo. Then we've got stego, staying dry in a storm because under a shelter, especially the shelter of God himself. So I've got at the top the rain umbrella protecting the man, and stego is safe under God's shelter through a storm. That's the short version. Then we've got proskartersis, steadfastness, strong perseverance, which prevails by interacting with God. So the image for this is a man that's holding a very heavy weight, and above it is the hupomone, perseverance to the end symbol, but also helping. The hands are shaking because it's helping, and who's giving the help? It is God. So the short version is strong perseverance because of interacting with God. Proskartereo, which is to attend to constantly, to persist and persevere steadfastly with intense effort despite difficulty. So this, I have a guy holding the weight, and it's going on eternally, and he is persisting constantly despite difficulty. There are 3 more words that relate to endurance and perseverance, and they are not in the verses we're going to discuss. One, it means to stand firm. One means to hold up, and one means to carry and bear. These words are about patience. So there's macro through meo, which is long suffering, to bear it long and be patient without getting angry. So long-tempered patience without anger. I've got the same guy holding up the weight, but there's a snail on top because it's a long time, but he's not getting angry. All right. I made a shortened version of hupomone, endurance, because it's used so often. It's easier than having the entire picture with the elephant and God's power and all of that stuff. Just the symbol of eternally holding on, that is what we're going to use for hupomone in a lot of the spaces, okay? Then there's one word for patience that we do not use in the verses that I'm going to cover, and that is lenient or yielding. The next section is persecuted. Dioko, to aggressively chase like a hunter, to chase out persistently. So I've got a guy that is on a horse, and he is aggressively chasing a man running. Then we've got to be persecuted also can be one form of hupomone, diogamos, which is pursuit and religious persecution, including death, against God's messengers, especially when they do not worship false gods as requested. So I've got the same guy that's on a horse pursuing a man running, but this time we've got a sword because he's aiming at killing him, and we have a cross, which is showing he's a Christian, and the aim is the skull and crossbones for death. Okay, so the next set of words are for tribulation, okay? The first one is thelipsis. Thelipsis is eternal pressure as a result when present tribulations have no way of escape. You can't get out of the tribulation you're in, so you have an emotional reaction. You feel the pressure. So I have in this picture a trap, and then I have inside of her head, she feels like she's going to explode, okay? Internal pressure because of pressure with no escape. Then we've got phlebo. Phlebo means to squeeze and add pressure to a person as a result because of no escape. So the first one was thelipsis. The second one is the actual process of causing the pressure, okay? Okay, so the next section is suffering. Kakapatheia means to suffer miserably and bad suffering from an earthly perspective, but it is allowed by God for a higher purpose. So in this image, I have a shopping basket filled with all sorts of different miserable, bad suffering options, okay? There could be war, there could be fire, there could be police, there could be sadness, depression, physical ailments, there could be violence, traps, broken hearts, demons, all the money could be gone, any of that, okay? But what we notice on the top is that there's a magnet and some energy, meaning what? God is drawing those things to turn for a good purpose, okay? Those things are going to happen, but it is allowed by God for a higher purpose. So miserably bad suffering allowed by God for a higher purpose. Now there's one that is its cousin. This one is sung kakapatheia. Okay, so this is to be a co-sufferer. This is basically to be someone's friend through the suffering, okay? Or to be someone who is also suffering alongside of you. And it's the same exact thing. So a co-sufferer of these bad, miserable sufferings allowed by God for a higher purpose. Then there is pathema. Pathema is strong feeling, usually like a broken heart or something very intense. So strong feelings. Pasco. Pasco means to be acted upon, resulting in strong feelings. So the last one was having strong feelings. This one is something happens to you, the thing that happens to you that causes the strong feelings. And echo, living out faith to the end. We had that one. That might seem familiar to you. So it can mean, as in the first one, to be enduring and persevere to the end. It can also mean suffering, to hold up and to go through the sequences to the end, to be faithful to the end through the sufferings. Then there are several words about suffering that we're not going to cover in this study. So one means to allow or to permit. One is to cover, to endure, to sustain or bear. One is to hold up under. One is to send away, let go, permit. One is to give suffering. One is to permit and to let fall, to suffer. One is to turn over or to commit to. One is to cause loss. The next section is sacrifice. Spiritual sacrifices, which is covered in this study, pneumatikos thuseia, the proper offering to God of the soul for sacrificial use. It is being a proper offering to God in the way that He wants the offering to be offered to Him. The next section is trial, doikime. Doikime is the approval of character through testing. So this is the fact that all of us need to go through testings to prove our faith and to prove that our character is changing. So testings, trials, temptations, calamities, and afflictions are included in this. Piera, an experience that pierces through the heart, like mocking. If someone's mocking you, it hurts your heart, right? So that is one type. There's one type we're not covering in this study, and that is a burning or a trial by fire. That's not included in what we're doing. So that's the basics. Now, when we come back for the next lesson, which is going to be 3.1, I'm going to be going through the verses, and when some of these different words pop in, the images are going to be placed in as well, so you can understand which type of suffering or which type of perseverance is being talked about, okay? And I know some of you have a fear of certain persecutions, and certain of you have a, I don't know what it would be called, almost a morbid attraction to being persecuted. These verses are going to clarify what some of the scriptures that have been misinterpreted quite often, what they actually mean, okay? And I think it should bring you a lot of peace, okay? So I hope you look forward to 3.1, and I'll see you next time.